what I'm getting at here is that when you penetrate the outer and allegorical or literal meaning of these verses, like here I'm extracting verses from the book of Revelations, and you follow the trail of etymology back to the original meanings, it points to a possible interpretation or translation that's considerably at variance with the Orthodox translation. And here, what I'm suggesting is that what it's really describing, what in the early Christian tradition, their concept of the devil, the Diabolos, Satanan, was very much like many other ancient cultures had a concept of a devil. And you'll see, I'm showing you this by comparison because we're going to be looking at the Mayan stuff shortly. And we're going to see many parallels between early Christian traditions, particularly like from the book of Revelations, and some of the stuff that the Mayans believed. And this idea, we all know from the Judeo-Christian tradition, or at least from the Christian tradition, that Lucifer, remember what Lucifer translates as what? What does Lucifer mean?
Bringer of light.
The bringer of light. Now that seems like a mighty odd appellation to put on a symbol of pure evil, right? The bringer of light. When I first heard that years and years and years ago, I puzzled over now what? Why would this bad guy, the symbol of evil, be the bringer of light? Well, it's not hard to fathom when you actually think that it might be a veiled allegorical reference to an experience that early humanity had of cosmic nature impinging itself upon the terrestrial domain. So what I'm getting at here is that, when you look at this, it's describing Satan as being the deceiver. But then we see that the deceiver was only a secondary or even a tertiary meaning. The original meaning was to roam or to go astray. And by reference to the myth of Phaeton, here we have the Greeks preserving exactly an account that sounds very explicitly like the account of a very close encounter between the Earth and a bolide or a meteor, whatever you want to call it, an asteroid or a comet, whatever the object was, that essentially went astray off of its normal path. Remember what Plato said that in his preface to his story of Atlantis in the book of Timaeus. Remember, he said it has the form of a myth. When Plato is talking about his commentary on Phaeton, the Phaeton myth, and he says it has the form of myth, but it actually signifies a deviation of the bodies that are rotating in space and a close encounter between the Earth and these bodies. I mean, he says that just as plain as anybody possibly could. And see, what he's saying is that it's a deviation of the body. Some body is going in space. Think about what happened to Shoemaker Levy 9. It passed within the vicinity of Jupiter. Jupiter's heavy gravity, Zeus, the heavy gravity of Zeus, drew Shoemaker Levy 9 out of its previous orbit and sent it on a direct collision course with Jupiter. And that's what Jupiter does. That's Jupiter's function within the solar system. Is Jupiter is the gatekeeper, so to speak. All of the cosmic debris that wants to come into the inner solar system passes through the zone of Jupiter before it gets here. And Jupiter will sweep that stuff up and either hurl it back out of the solar system, where of course it presents no threat to us terrestrials, or he throws it towards the sun, in which case it becomes a potential Earth crosser and thereby becomes potentially threatening to we little humans, microbial humans living down here on the bottom of the 4,000 mile deep gravity well on the surface of this planet. So we find that the word planos, which means to wander or to roam, then became incorporated, became appropriated for the term for planets. Because planets obviously are moving. When you go out and you look against the fixed backdrop of stars, it's the planets that we see moving. And so they become the wanderers. But there was another family of wanderers out there as well. The planets don't threaten Earth, but the other family of wanderers have threatened Earth, and will continue to threaten Earth, and have embedded themselves in the deepest sacred and archaic traditions of mankind. And what I'm trying to show here, it's not that I'm obsessed with all of this, it's just that once you recognize it, and you learn to read the symbolical language, it's hard to go anywhere to any of the ancient traditions and open the box and not discover it there. And it's for that reason that I keep coming back to it, because it's so universal and so deeply embedded in some of the most powerful of our ancient traditions that you just can't avoid it and get around it. And I've had people over the years, several talks that I've given, I've had people raise their hands or whatever and giving somewhat of objections before I, for example, if I start talking about the scientific information, the scientific evidence for encounters between Earth and objects from space, they'll say, well, if this really did happen and early man experienced it, then wouldn't all of these traditions and stuff somehow reflect that? To which I would reply, yes, they would, and they do. In fact, but you have to know how to read the symbolism of it.